Hello and welcome back to Sunday Vibes, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you've had a good weekend so far. I've had a good day because I'm joined by Mikey McCubbin.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Steegs.
Yeah.
I'm good, thanks.
Enjoyed the Champions League this week?
Loved the Champions League this week. Yeah, I actually didn't catch... I was at a friend's gig last night, so I didn't manage to get... Well, actually, I did manage to catch a little bit of the Dortmund PSG game because the sound guy at this venue, I won't say the venue because in case he gets in trouble, had a stream of Dortmund PSG up, and so I was standing next to the sound desk, like watching the gig, slightly watching the football. So managed to catch Mbappe hitting the post and whatnot. So yeah, and obviously Bayern Real produced the goods. I thought that was a more entertaining game than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, great to see Dortmund win that first leg. Obviously they've got they've got to go away in the second, so I feel like PSG are still mild favourites, but I think especially in that first half Dortmund were excellent. And of course Jadon Sancho's got a lot of the headlines. What is it, the third most take-ons ever completed in the Champions League knockout game? So yeah, great to see him.
Did that hurt your heart, or were you pleased to see it?
No, I think I'm pleased to see it. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because especially with the uncertainty around Erik ten Hag's future at United, I think there is more of a possibility now of Jadon Sancho coming in and actually redeeming himself under a new coach at United, whereas before it really felt like that was over between the player and the club. So yeah, and either way, it's good to see. It's just good to see him succeed because he, was such a special talent growing up. I guess the shame is that this form, I think, it's just come a little bit too late for a late Euros call-up, hasn't it? I just think that.
Yeah, I'd have thought so. But I saw a lot of United fans maybe a little bit bitter about his level of performance, but actually, in my opinion, I think it works for United both ways, because either he's driving up the price before you sell him this summer, most likely to Dortmund. I think if they get this level of Champions League money, there's a decent chance they make the final now. There's a very good chance he goes back to Dortmund. I think they're very happy with his level of performance, and even though maybe it was a slower start, I think he's now really hit his top level, which is great to see. Or it drives off a price from elsewhere, or if Erik ten Hag leaves, which is a possibility, you get a happy, confident Sancho back at United. So from 100%. United's perspective, I think it's really a win-win. But you're right to compliment Dortmund. I was really surprised with how well they played, to be honest. I'm kind of surprised with their entire Champions League form.
Their season has been... Their season has been... I feel like they've just gaslit everyone this season. Yeah. They've been so shoddy in the Bundesliga. They don't deserve Champions League football next season based on their league performance, but somehow their Champions League performance has secured them Champions League football next year. Obviously, it's confirmed, isn't it, that Germany's going to get the fifth spot. So, it's really funny. But they coming through that group of death, beating Atleti as well, just great. And Nicholas Füllkrug, oh my god! The header against Atleti and then the finish yesterday, just next level, man. This guy's supposed to just be,
a
working, your standard working German striker, his. I guess I wouldn't call him a late bloomer because he's always been quite prolific, or at least he's been prolific, since his kind of early to mid 20s. But to see him do it on that stage as well, and also he was. What game was it in the 2022 World Cup where he came on and instantly Germany looked much better?
It was Japan game.
Might have been the Japan game or maybe against Spain.
Maybe
I can't quite remember. Yeah. But I think
his international record's amazing.
Yeah, really
10,
good.
11 goals in 15 games, and he was playing in the German second tier 2 years ago. I know he's played in the Bundesliga prior to that, but he wasn't really a big name, at least outside of Germany. So full credit to him. And he also, I don't want to focus on his miss, but they had a great opportunity to go 2-0 up to him as well after Sancho did that amazing piece of skill on Nuno Mensch, who had a really difficult evening. But amazing week for the German sides because, well, actually I say that, Bayern kind of have ceded a little bit of momentum in the tie, quite frustratingly. I think it's rare to play that well and to come away with no real advantage going to the Bernabeu. But thank goodness for the eradication of away goals as Bayern from their perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, they'd be in real issues. I thought they played well.
Just very quickly, on the back of that, I was thinking of this the other day, after last night. Does the performance of German clubs in Europe this season, and I know it's a little bit reductive, it's not the most nuanced, but I feel like the Bundesliga, like based on this season, is clearly the second best league in Europe. But that this European performance, I think there is an argument to say that the quality at the top of the Bundesliga threatens the Premier League. I think like you look at the top 5 teams in the Bundesliga, like Dortmund, could make it to a Champions League final and they're 5th in the Bundesliga. Bayern, top scorers in Europe, and yet
miles off
Leverkusen. Leverkusen, of course, still unbeaten as we're
recording
this. Maybe I'll jinx that. What was I going to say? And then Stuttgart obviously haven't been involved in European competition this year, and they're a bit of an outlier. But Leipzig, I think, are like really, really superb, and I think would be good enough to challenge for a top 4 spot in the Premier League. So and yeah, like you say, like we're really impressive against Real Madrid. It's had unfortunate not to get something out of that. So yeah, I don't know. I think the bully has kind of crept up a little bit this year. After quite a few years of a lot of underperformance actually in European competition. Especially, I guess Frankfurt won the Europa League, and Bayern won the Champions League. But we haven't seen this many German teams go so deep, especially in the Champions League, in quite some time.
For sure. I mean, I think Bayern were 3 consecutive quarterfinal exits, and given their slow decline in the Bundesliga has got tighter and tighter year on year. But I still think Bayern are a really difficult opponent in any Champions League tie with that level of history and that sort of standing in the game. But yeah, you're right. I think the gap between the top leagues is actually not as big as people make out, to be honest. I think Serie A is a really good competitive league, particularly the top 6 or 7 in Serie A. I think the 6th or 7th best teams in Serie A would give the 6th or 7th teams in England a really good game / beat them quite easily. I mean, we saw Roma absolutely destroy Brighton.
Yeah.
And I know that we're doing the same thing that we always try and avoid, of judging leagues off the basis of 2-legged ties, but I don't think the gap from the Premier League to the rest is even as considerable. It's not as considerable as it should be, given the imbalance of finances in the last few years. And I don't even know whether you can clearly say it's the best league in the world. It's definitely the best marketed.
Coming from the man who suggested that Brighton could win Serie A.
Can I just clarify that for the 15,000th time? It's actually Pat saying that.
It was
I don't
Pat
know why
said
I'm attached to that
and
video.
Pat also said it quite jokingly as well. And Brighton were a lot better then as well. Brighton were a lot better back then. But before we get on with the actual main part of the show, I feel like there was something more I was going to say on that. Like we were saying, I think that's it. I think something else that is telling is that, I think there was that post-COVID period where the other top leagues in Europe just weren't spending at all. The last 12 months, it feels like that's changed, hasn't it? And it is funny now that this is coinciding with the Premier League clubs now being a bit more limited by PSR. Yeah, it feels like also the financial gap is starting to close up again a little bit.
This summer will be really interesting. I think a lot of Premier League clubs will be tightening their belts. Speaking of that, though, let's get into some transfer rumours. So we put it out on Twitter. The Football Daily Twitter account is back some of the time, seemingly. So watch out for the occasional tweet. Not quite sure what's going on with that. But anyway, we put out a tweet and there were some responses to it. There were actually plenty of responses to it, suggesting transfers that we should talk about. Big names, actually, are being talked about for big moves. I mean, let's kick off with Mo Salah to Saudi Arabia. This wasn't actually suggested by anyone, but it is probably the biggest impending transfer, at least out of the Premier League this summer. Mikey, what are your thoughts on this? Where are we at? I know we briefly talked about this on Monday Vibes as well. Do you think the time is right to sell him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, because Liverpool fans, there are a few kind of disgruntled Liverpool fans in the comments after Monday's show saying, Salah said he wants to stay, the club want him to stay, like that. Why are you speculating about this? Like with these rumours, like not all of these rumours are from like the best source, like as transfer rumours are, like
they're just rumours.
And I don't think we should judge these based on whether we think they're going to happen or not. Yeah, I think we should judge them completely based on whether we would rate them as a move. So I think it's a difficult one with Mo Salah. I'm in danger of repeating what I said on Monday. I think there is I think it's quite 50-50. I think there is a very strong argument, a fairly strong argument at least, for the continuity that Salah would bring with a new coach at the helm, the guarantee of goals, his creative output, the fact that almost everything goes through him in the Liverpool attack. He does remain Liverpool's most important attacking player, even though he's had a bit of a drop-off at the end of this season. The argument against is that, Liverpool have, made a real thing of selling on stars for big profits and reinvesting that, and the constant renewal of that squad especially under Michael Edwards. And if there is a time to sell Mo Salah for a big price, and if a Saudi club is in for him this summer and is willing to put up, plus 80 million, then I think it's a really tough offer to turn down, if I'm honest. I don't think you'll ever get that for Salah again, and you just never know. You never know with a forward. I know he wasn't necessarily the most early bloomer. He didn't play like tons of football in his early days. It's not like a situation that we could potentially have with, say, a Saka or a Garnacho, maybe.
Or Foden.
Foden less so. I think Foden's minutes were managed pretty well, but there's just always there is always the danger that potentially at 32 or 33, is Salah 31 now?
He's 32 in the summer.
He's 32 in the summer. So there's the danger that come the end of next season, suddenly Salah really starts dropping off. You never know. So the kind of risk-averse side of me, and putting on the kind of sporting director hat, it does make a bit of sense, I think, to have a bit of a clean break, leave before he actually declines. It potentially makes sense for the player as well if Salah wants a big, one last payday. I don't know what your thoughts are here, Dukes. I would lean towards selling. I feel like it also takes the pressure off this group of Liverpool players as well. Like if he doesn't leave this summer, I would expect him to leave the following summer or the summer after that. Obviously, 1 year left on his contract. Maybe they'll extend, but there's no way that Michael Edwards suddenly is like, oh yeah, here's a new 3-year deal.
Yeah.
Like the most that Salah's going to get is a 2-year deal. They may just extend by a year. So it feels like kicking the can down the road a little bit in that sense. It kind of depends. Like if Liverpool want to go for trophies again next season, then Salah, you may well want to keep him. But if you're looking to the long term, it feels like a good time to sell.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think it's so price dependent. It really, 80 million does seem like a very good price for someone who's 32. But his value to Liverpool, even right now, even in his bad form, feels higher than that.
Yeah.
Right now, as you say, you are looking at the end of kind of an era of that Klopp side. Obviously, the Van Dijk, the Alisson, the Robertson, etc., all over 30. Thiago, of course, who doesn't really feature anymore, 33. So, but do they want one more trophy push with that group of players in Pep's final couple of years at City, or are they really planning for that post-Pep time? Which is what we've been talking about for years on Football Daily, that actually it's about being the best team when he leaves, because it is so difficult to win a 38-game league season against him. I think he's only failed to win 3 of his 15 years in charge of various clubs. And he has always managed very good teams, but it does go to show just how incredibly consistent he is. For Salah himself, I think his bad form recently has slightly been overhyped. I don't think
he was quite bad at the end of last season as well, wasn't he?
I don't think he's been as bad as people made out recently, though. I've seen Liverpool fans being like, get him out the door. I mean, I know they've been frustrated with the downfall. I mean, some of them were even saying to get rid of Trent. Obviously, it was just the heat of the moment. But I mean, he's still scored 23 goals in all competitions in every one of his 7 seasons there. It's pretty remarkable.
Amazing.
He scored over 30 on 4 occasions. Like, that sort of consistency, you can't really put a price on. And especially when you look at the right winger market right now, it's really weak.
Yeah.
It's really weak.
Especially in terms of goal scorers.
Goal scorers, for sure. I think along with left back, it's the weakest position in world football. I've been banging the drum for about 6 months now about Leroy Sané. Does he want to leave Bayern Munich to go to a new project under a new coach when they've just lost their best player? I'm not so sure. Is he the guarantee of goals that Mo Salah is? absolutely not. Then at a younger age range, you're probably looking at someone like Michael Olise or Kubo, but they just don't have the body of work to be like
Kudus has been linked as well.
Kudus is probably closer in terms of body of work, but it's still a huge leap.
Yeah.
So I would be, unless they've got some master plan very much worked out, I would be reluctant to let him go, unless the price is over £100 million, and then I say thank you very much for your services.
If Nunez had put up over 15 league goals this season, would that change your mind?
Yeah, I think the end of the season has definitely coloured my thinking in terms of the way that all their forwards have kind of finished this year. The fact that I don't see Cody Gakpo becoming a consistent goal scorer, I don't really see him scoring over 20 league goals ever. I know he's played a number of different positions. Josh has had injury issues. I think Luis Diaz blows hot and cold. When he's on it, I think he's exceptional, but he's still not that lethal finisher that even Mane was 3-4 years ago. So I think it's not the ideal time, but sometimes the money is just too good to turn down. But it's the big question. I mean, would you guys accept £80 million for Mo Salah? I think a lot of people, I think that'd be more 50-50. £100 million, I think most people probably would. But get at us in the comments.
I guess the other alternative is if you could get £80 million for Mo Salah, and that means that you can then go and spend like £100 million on any attacker of your choosing, and you reshape that attack so that you have, say, a Harvey Elliott playing on the right of a 4-2-3-1, and it would be a bit mad after the money spent on Nunez 2 years ago, but you go out and get the lights out centre forward, like the best on the market, and you reshape the team in that way. Then I don't know.
It will be
maybe that's the way. We'll just go and get Santiago Jimenez for
more
40
to come on him. More to come on him. Let's move on to Mide PK suggestion of Marcus Rashford to Arsenal. Now, there was reports this week, Mikey, that pretty much everyone in the Man United squad is not up for sale. They are willing to listen to offers. I think that was in not including Højlund, Garnacho, Kobe Mainu, Dalot and Onana, and probably Bruno as well. But everyone else, including Marcus Rashford, they are willing to listen to offers for. We don't know the believability of that. Yeah. But it's been written, so we're not making this up. Marcus Rashford has been, I don't think, even linked to Arsenal really, but it's one that someone talks about or people talk about online. Yeah. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of come about probably because this season more than any in Arteta's reign, the left wing position at Arsenal has been a bit of a contentious one, hasn't it? But Gabriel Martinelli has probably had his poorest season, barring ones with injury, in an Arsenal shirt. And after last season, when I thought he was absolutely class, there was a period when Martinelli was comparable to Saka, especially in terms of his output. That's obviously not the case anymore. He's been in and out the side. Trossard's played, a lot more minutes on the left as well. It just feels like it's a weird one with Arsenal, isn't it? Because there's always talk about strikers, but Havertz has, put up decent numbers this season. Then you think, well, backup right wing should be a bit of a priority for them as well, given the minutes that are in Saka's legs. But I think there is an argument that Arsenal could, slightly upgrade the left wing. I do think that Marcus Rashford, he is a more accomplished player than Martinelli, even if he's had probably a worse season. I think he is a more accomplished player. I think when you look at his goal and assist output over the years, I think he does offer more, especially as a goal scorer.
A few more years on Martinelli, then.
He's got a few more years. Not maybe
26 versus 24.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Martinelli there. I'm not so sure. Marcus Rashford has obviously had a really, really poor season, but in a very dysfunctional United side. There's clearly stuff away from the pitch that has affected him as well. Like, it's just, the feeling around Rashford is just very toxic, isn't it, at United this year? And it feels like if he was going to leave, this is as likely as he's come to leaving the club too. Apparently PSG aren't so interested, but to be honest, I feel like a move like PSG would be the one that would suit him the most, just in terms of being in a winning side, playing with some really top attackers there. You know, Paris obviously a great place to live. Footballer, he's into his fashion. You know, all these kind of things. It's a, you know, the brand of the club is it's very cut out for a player with Rashford's kind of PR, like, well, let's say the Qatari ownership being owned by a nation state. But anyway, I'm rambling here. Rashford to Arsenal, I don't mind it as a fit, but I think the price that Arsenal would have to pay, I don't know. I think there's better options out there from an Arsenal perspective in terms of value for money, because if United sell Rashford, like it will be like they're not going to sell him for whatever, you know.
Well,
it's not got that bad. Like, I think United would still demand at least 60 or 70 million pounds for him.
He's one of your most sellable assets as well.
Yeah, hugely sellable asset. Like, obviously, you know, is, you know, the value to the club beyond football is massive as well, as just a, you know, representative of the club. Yeah, I think there are better options out there for Arsenal, personally.
I tend to agree at that price. He's also, like, understandably, because of his profile and his previous performances for United, his previous performances for England, he's such a headline dominator. Do Arsenal need that on their bench? I mean, there will be times when he's sitting on the bench, and also, what does it mean for Martinelli's development, who was so promising last year? I just don't think it's the right caliber of player to sign to sit on your bench.
I think, yeah. I think he
Arsenal are, in very simple terms, I think they're much deeper at left wing than they are at right wing, and Marcus Rashford hasn't really played his best football on the right wing.
No, there's been spells where he has been decent on the right, but yeah, I agree. Like, if you're gonna, like, he has to be a starter wherever he goes, Rashford. Like, if Arsenal were trying to sign a starting left winger, then I don't think, like, in terms of immediate impact, I actually don't think it would be a terrible move. I think he's a match winner. You know, if he's playing in a harmonious squad, like, you know, we spoke about the kind of players that they were lacking against Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals. A player like Marcus Rashford is the kind of player they were lacking, like someone who can actually run in behind, someone who's got tons of pace,
less one-dimensional.
That's one-dimensional. Someone who's just like, can really come up with a moment of magic out of nothing. You know, at least, you know, 22, 23 Rashford or 2021 Rashford we're talking about there. But like, that is the kind of profile of player that I think they're looking for in the forward line, and I think that's why the links have arisen, because, like, I think there's something in it in that sense. But given the amount of young attacking talent out there, there are younger options, probably at a slightly better price that Arsenal could go for. Off the top of my head, I can't actually think of them off the top of my head.
Nico Williams, maybe.
Yeah, Nico Williams is a great shout. Yeah, Nico Williams would be a great shout. But so much younger as well. What is he, 21, Nico Williams?
Yeah, remarkable player. Right, let's move on to Gabriel Jesus. Now, this one does seem to have a bit of legs in it. End of his second season with Arsenal, obviously. I think he had a very good first year, to be honest, when he was fit.
Yeah,
especially
the first half.
Yeah, he was outstanding until that knee injury, wasn't he? And then it has kind of been a bit injury-ridden, at least this season, in and out of the side. I think Kai Havertz, Arsenal have played their best football with him as a 9, particularly recently as well. This year, just 4 goals and 4 assists in 24 league games. That's not a great return for a player of his calibre, who was supposed to be that ceiling raiser when he joined Arsenal, and now he just feels like not one of their top players and fairly expendable. It feels like, if I was Arsenal, I'd 100% rather get rid of Eddie Nketiah, but if there is the possibility to sign an 80-90 million pound striker, which Arsenal feel like is their real ceiling raiser now, then he is potentially going to have to make way. Feels like the word coming out of the club is maybe they've slightly moved beyond Gabriel Jesus, which I feel is a real shame. Yes, he's not the most clinical finisher. He's never exceeded his expected goals in a single season in England. I think he's actually underperformed by 28 in the league across this whole time, which is actually a pretty considerable amount.
Yeah,
but in terms of being a pure footballer, I think he's an outstanding player. I actually put it on Twitter earlier today, which went down really badly with Chelsea fans, that I think Chelsea should be interested in him. And a lot of people correctly pointed out his injury record. He's not clinical. Is it what Chelsea need? I think he'd be a really good player for a club that has finished in mid-table in back-to-back years and could potentially be available on a cut price fee. Yes, if you can get a Gyökeres or an Alexander Isak or a Victor Osimhen, you go for that as Chelsea. But do they want to join you? I don't think they do. No.
Gyökeres maybe more likely than the other two, but Yeah, I think as an option for Chelsea, I think Jesus would. I don't know if you sign him as the centre forward. I think you sign him as an all-round attacker who can play across the forward line. But you've kind of got Cole Palmer doing a lot of that work now.
Also, Jackson's best work is outside of the box, and that's kind of Jesus' best work as well.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe it wasn't my best thought.
I would say I'm siding with I'm siding with the general public here because it also didn't go down well with non-Chelsea fans in the group chat. I think I think Gabriel Jesus is a bit of a tough one as a target this summer. The injury problems have really taken it out of him. What is it, like 3? Is it 3 knee surgeries in 2 years or something?
That's what someone put in the group chat, but I think it's 2.
Maybe it's 2. Sorry. I think considering that, I think Arsenal would struggle to sell him this summer for a good price. What was it? Was it 50 million they paid
Apparently
City
Edu's
for?
been chatting up Saudi.
Well, there you go. Well, aside from Saudi, I guess would be the one. But then I think that feels, well, is it a waste for Jesus? Like, he has had a really good career. What is he, 27, 28 now? So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think if you're Arsenal, if you can't get around 40 plus for him, I don't know if it's worth selling.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's worth selling.
I think he's a very, very talented player. I mean, even in the Champions League this year,
and he's also got a ton of experience as well. Like, even if he like as a bench option, even if they're going to persist with, say, Havertz up top, I think
he's really helpful.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good squad player to have. But yeah, if you do need to sell someone, maybe he'll make ways. Okay, let's move on to Santiago Jimenez, a player you mentioned earlier,
yes,
who has been linked with Spurs. You're a big fan.
Yeah, I think he's great. I really like Santiago Jimenez. I mean, 47 goals in 85 games for Feyenoord since coming back. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired today. 23 goals last season, 24 goals this season. And those 23 goals in his first season came very much in the second half of the campaign. We were talking about Arne Slot on Monday. Of course, go and check that out if you haven't done so already. We did a bit of a deep dive into Arne Slot and what he's got to do at Liverpool this summer. But Jimenez was brought in from Cruz Azul for €6 million. Was really bedded into the side very slowly. You're loving that elderflower, aren't you?
Good. So good. Yeah, sorry.
Not an ad. But yeah, he didn't really play that much football up until the 2022 World Cup, then came back from the 2022 World Cup and just really just hit top form very, very quickly for Feyenoord.
Good all-round skill set.
Really, really good all-round skill set. He's ranks in the top kind of 4 or 5% in most metrics for strikers. Has played in a high pressing system. Hard worker off the ball.
Good in the air.
It seems like someone who would fit an Ange Postecoglou system quite well. And given that Spurs are still crying out for a pure goal scoring centre forward like Richarlison, I know he's had problems this season and did have that really prolific period, but I think Richarlison has never been a pure goal scoring forward, has he? He does have his moments, but I think after 2 years at the club now, I think it's time to accept that he can't be relied upon for a full season. At least as the number one centre forward, that there needs to be someone else in there. Son isn't getting any younger. We haven't really seen Son at his very, very best for since that 21-22 season now. Conte's first year, when he was just on absolute fire in the latter stages of the campaign. I think Santiago Jimenez is the kind of profile that Spurs should be looking at. I think last summer they were heavily linked with someone like Gift Orban. I think Santiago Jimenez is less raw than Orban, has performed in a slightly higher caliber league, in a higher caliber team as well, has done it in European competition. I really like him and it's the perfect kind of age for a player to go to Spurs as well. His value could skyrocket again if he does it in the Premier League.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a great fit. I don't have anything to add. I thought that was excellent. Bob Ayi asked Jordan Pickford to Chelsea. We were talking about this in the group chat yesterday. The group chat we keep on talking about, by the way, is the Football Daily group chat, which is still very active. And Oba and Zach were making the case that they don't really need a goalkeeper. It's not one of their priorities. I think if you can get someone of Pickford's quality, you absolutely should. I don't think Petrovic or Sanchez are a top 6 level goalkeeper, which is what Chelsea want to eventually get back to, and then they want to get back into the Champions League, and then they want to start winning trophies. Jordan Pickford, I think is a very solid goalkeeper. Yeah, there are the occasional error. He gets very angry with his teammates. He sometimes kicks the post, and sometimes people like to sort of tease him almost because he's very emotional. But I think in terms of his quality, I think he's been outstanding for back-to-back seasons for Everton now, really. I mean, his save percentage this year is 74%. Last year it was 71%. That's up there with Alisson, Areola, Onana, surprisingly, as one of the best in the league. And I think he's got the sort of experience and sort of standing within the game to make a difference for Chelsea. I don't really see him playing for a Champions League club anytime soon. I think everyone's quite well set in terms of goalkeepers, at least in England. But Chelsea would be an upgrade from Everton. I think it just feels like a bit of a tap-in. I like it.
Yeah, I quite like it as well, to be honest. I think it's the step up that he deserves. I think, Everton aren't, like you say, going anywhere fast, sadly. I know there's the proposed takeover this summer, but that's still very much not like completely on the cards. Like, that could fall through, and yeah, it just feels about time. It feels about time for Pickford. You say not. I think he is. I think he's capable of playing for a Champions League level club. Like, I know. I know Ramsdale is, not favoured anymore at Arsenal, and that that's another conversation as well, where the possibility of where he could go this summer. But like, if Ramsdale can cut it in a team of that calibre, I think Pickford. I know we're just comparing them because they're English goalkeepers, but I don't want to get the impression that we're just kind of rating Pickford because he's England's number one. He is. I think compared to other English keepers, I think he. I don't know. Is he better than Nick Pope? I don't know, but I think I think him and Nick Pope are fairly similar level. I think Pickford is better than him in some regards. Maybe not as good as coming out of his area, but I think as a shot stopper, he's superb. Obviously, has been behind a really, really good back line at Everton as well. Like that. I mean, that is the funny thing. That if he was going to go to Chelsea, he would have more work to do, really. Like, Tarkowski and Jared Brantwaite have been so solid in front of him this year. There is a reason why that save percentage is high. I mean, I know he's been in particularly good form recently, but like, that save percentage is high because they don't actually allow that many high quality shots against them. So it would be a bit of a culture shock in that sense. And I think Chelsea's back line just needs, despite how much money they've spent on centre backs over the last couple of years already, it just needs work, doesn't it? And they need work at full back in particular, at least at left back.
Especially if they want to sell Ian Maatsen.
Yeah. So, well, yeah.
Dortmund's star.
I mean, that's a worry in itself. But I mean, at the same time, I think if Ian Maatsen was going to have made it at Chelsea, I think it would have happened. Like, it feels like maybe he's just not the right profile for this Chelsea team.
Yeah,
and
I don't think he got enough of a chance, to be honest.
He didn't. But I don't mind it. I don't absolutely love it, and I think I'm kind of.
You're amber.
I'm kind of. I do sympathise a little bit with Chelsea fans in that. I think there are. I don't necessarily think the goalkeeper position is a big problem position for them. Is Kepa's deal at Real Madrid? Does that have an option to buy on it?
I doubt they'd be taking it.
Yeah, so Kepa will be back.
Kepa
was quite good at Chelsea for the last kind of 18 months there. I think Petrovic, has his critics, but I think he has. I think he's definitely a step up on Sanchez, that's for sure. And I think there have been a number of games in which he has impressed. In some ways, I feel like Chelsea don't. Is Pickford as big a step up as Chelsea to make it worth it for Chelsea? I'm not so sure, and I do think there needs to be a bit of a decision made on who's going to be. You want someone to be in there from the start of next season who's going to be Chelsea's number one for the next 2 or 3 years, because I think that has been less so the actual quality of the goalkeeper starting for Chelsea. I think the bigger problem has been the lack of continuity in that area, because aside from
Mendy to Kepa
and
to Sanchez to Petrovic,
and it's been kind of indicative of Chelsea as a whole under Burley. Like, Thiago Silva's been the only constant in that back line whatsoever, and obviously
even him, he's been in and out a lot.
Oh yeah, and he's had he's obviously off in the summer as well. So yeah, they need that continuity. I don't mind it, but I don't. I'm not frothing at the bit for it.
Fair enough.
Chomping at the bit for it, not frothing at the mouth is the one. God,
right, the next one is Amadou Onana to Arsenal, Bayern or Newcastle. I am not, controversially, I think, not that sold on Amadou Onana for the prices that I see being talked about. I think he's okay at a number of things. I don't think he's particularly effective in the final third. I don't think he's got massive defensive output. I think he's a big unit, clearly, and that is what a lot of sides are looking for in the centre of park these days. Look at Rice, look at Rodri. But I don't think he's outstanding in any category, particularly on the ball. And that might be a product of playing for a Sean Dyche side that don't average a lot of possession. I think this year only Sheffield United have averaged less possession. But in terms of his successful passes, his progressive passes, his ball retention, in the bottom 40% or so of midfielders in his position, that's quite troubling for going to a Bayern Munich or going to an Arsenal in particular. I just don't see it for the prices that are being talked about of over £50 million. But maybe I'm just not seeing it.
How much did Everton sign him for? Was it the
35?
35, yeah. I mean, he's still a good age. I think the thing is with Onana, if he was going to go to an Arsenal or a Bayern, I think it would be as a squad player, right? Like, I don't think that Arsenal midfield is necessarily going to change anytime soon, unless you find like the long-term heir to Jorginho that Onana isn't. I think that Arsenal midfield is clearly best Jorginho, Rice, and Ødegaard at this point. Bayern, I think
it's basically like a worse version of Goretzka.
Yeah. But a lot younger as well. He can, I think, under the right coaching, I think he can develop into a really, really good player. Like, I think this is the thing with Onana, right? Like, he was great at Lille. A lot of players have come out of Lille and not performed as well. And obviously, Liga is a lower caliber. But yeah, he has come into a pretty tumultuous kind of period in Everton's history. The attack has been very poor at Everton for quite a long time now, and yeah, it's true. Like, especially Dominic Calvert-Lewin's finishing has been poor, but I just would like to see him in a more expansive side, because he does have that. His raw ability. He does have really good raw ability. Like, I think he could be a really top ball carrier in a good side. So I think, I think a chance should come for him to step up. But I don't know whether. Yeah, I just don't know whether he's a starter for those sides. Like Bayern's midfield, I know that lots has been made out of it, but I think Pavlovic is probably going to... I think he will become a regular starter sooner rather than later in that Bayern side. Kimmich, if he stays this summer, I think that he still holds down that.
Right back now.
Well, he is playing at right back, but I don't see that lasting. I think they will sign a right back this summer, and he'll move back into midfield. So yeah, it's hard to see spaces opening up. Newcastle out of those three, I think would be a good shout for Onana. Like, I think he's certainly got the physical profile for an Eddie Howe side, and whether that's it depends whether that's what they want or whether they want a bit more finesse in the midfield. But I think in terms of ball progression, I think he adds further depth to that midfield. But as we say, I think it's probably more on the creative end that they're going to be prioritising this summer, right?
I'd have thought so. Which one do you want to talk about next, Mikey? We could do some of the European ones.
Let's do Should we go? Let's go Joshua Zirkzee.
Yes.
I think I really like this one.
Yeah,
I really like this one. So it's Joshua Zirkzee to Arsenal. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I'm a big fan of this. Obviously, was it signed permanently by Bologna? Was it 2 seasons ago now?
I think it was 2, yeah.
I think they got him for less than 10 million euros from Bayern.
Great deal.
Obviously, just never got a look in with Lewandowski.
He's had that one spell. I think Lewandowski was injured, maybe in 1920.
And he looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good, but he was so young then.
So young.
Yeah. So young then. He's only 23 at the end of this month. So like 1920 would have still been a teenager. His goal output isn't amazing for a Bologna side that, of course, have been challenging for Champions League football this season. But weirdly, for such a high possession side, Bologna, they don't actually take an awful lot of shots. They rank 8th in Serie A for shots this term. Their XG isn't the highest either. So he takes less than 3 shots per 90, and his XG per 90 has dropped from 0.72 at Anderlecht to 0.49.
Still solid.
But 27 goals and assists for Anderlecht last term, an Anderlecht side that were not, one of the best in Belgium last season. 11 goals, 2 of them from the spot this term. I think it's more just his all-round play. We talk about Gabriel Jesus and what he offers. I think Zirkzee, he's obviously not, he's not as refined as Gabriel Jesus.
Exceptional.
But his footwork is really good. He loves a little nutmeg. Like, he does love a nutmeg, and his change of pace is really good, and he can drop in, and he's quite good at picking out players. Well. Like, you could see, like what kind of Kai Havertz's assist for Saka on the weekend against Spurs. Like, that's the kind of thing that Zirkzee is also capable of. So I think as an all, really big. Is he 6'3"? Maybe?
I think he's only 6'3", but when I watch highlights of him, I'm just like, is he 6'3"? I think it's the hair so much larger as well. He just looks so dominant.
He's got stronger, and I think his physicality would have to like go up just a tiny bit more in the Prem, because it does feel like sometimes when I watch Serie A, it's like it's funny how it's kind of evolved over the years, and like Serie A is not as coming up again taking on defenders in Serie A is not what it once was. Like it is, you can outmuscle a defender a bit easier there now. I think, at least like looking at Zirkzee, because he's not like he's not the biggest beast of a centre forward, but he does just absolutely he just runs through defenders, like almost scared to get near him at points. I think as an all-round attacker in that Arsenal forward line, I think he would be really, really good. 50 million plus, I think, for a 23-year-old. I think compared to a lot of other strikers around that age that are available this summer, that's pretty cheap, actually. And I think it's just because his goal output isn't as big, and he's not playing for a league-winning side. But like, I think he's got so much ability, and he just seems like exactly the kind of player that Arteta should be looking at. Like, right age, doesn't need to be starting every game when he comes in. Like, really good link-up play, hard-working. Yeah, really, really like it.
Yeah, everything I've seen of him is excellent. Really, really excited to see where he goes. But he might want to just stay at Bologna for another year as well, play Champions League football there as well. They're in a real dogfight with Roma to get 4th, but 5 teams in Italy do get Champions League, so we'll see what happens there. Which one do you want to talk about next?
Should we go? Let's do one that I'm not big fan of. Ronald Araujo to Bayern or Man United. I don't know where this has come from.
I can't see.
I feel like he's constantly linked with Man United. It's just not going to happen. I can't
see Barcelona. Letting him go. I think it would take an enormous fee.
Yeah, not good.
They've still got financial issues. He's had injury issues as well. I think Kubasi and Araujo did look like it was going to really emerge, and it still can. I mean, they're obviously so young as a partnership, but it does look like it's got the potential to be one of the best in the world in a few years. It's one of Barcelona's strongest parts is really their quality of defenders. Koundé as well being an option at centre-back, Christensen. That's 4 really top defenders. I think they'd be really reluctant to let him go. Bayern Munich are screaming for a bit more direction and a bit more leadership in that area. I think we've seen the impact of Eric Dyer. I don't think they'd probably sign another player that's not a native German in that position for a little while. Feels like they need a little bit more communication there. As for Man United, I think it'd be amazing if they got him, but I just can't see it happening. I think it's cuckoo land.
I think it would be a bad move for United. Like, too expensive. Yeah, not a clean bill of health over the last few years. That's not what United need in that back line. And I could see that being an absolute disaster. Like,
really?
I just think Ronald Araujo coming into a United side where, like, there's not a huge amount of direction, and like he clearly does have leadership qualities, Araujo, but I just think, yeah, I could see it. It's not going to happen, but if it did happen, I could see it going the way a little bit of. I know he's not as old as Varane, but a little bit in that direction.
Really?
Like, I think the shock of going from a club that are far from perfect in Barcelona, but at least
structure.
At least there's something a bit more there. At least they're still they'll still challenge for, or at least come close to challenging for titles, even when they're at their kind of lowest ebb. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And also, what he does offer is, being able to play at right back. Weirdly, United are not looking for someone to play at right back. That is like the least of United's worries at this moment in time, weirdly enough, because right back was a problem position for so long, even last summer. So yeah, I don't like it. And yeah, Bayern, similar. Well, not similar. I think he'd probably fit in a bit better. But yeah, I don't think Bayern need to spend that kind of money on a centre back. So yeah, I think that's all I need to say.
From our final one. Let's talk briefly about Filip Kostic to Crystal Palace. I saw this in the gossip column today. I can't remember what the source was. Obviously, he's got experience playing under Oli Glasner at Eintracht Frankfurt. Not just experience, like
amazing.
Exceptional level of performances. He was absolutely brilliant there. I think it was about 16 league goals and assists for 4 seasons in a row. Brilliant. At Juve, hasn't been as good as I thought it was going to be, to be totally honest. Left wing back there. He's been moved around the team a little bit. This year just hasn't had the same level of performance even as last year. Maybe Juve would want to let him go. I mean, he's approaching the end of his career now. I could see them being up for selling him. Does he want to go to Crystal Palace at this stage of his career? Maybe. But they are also pretty strong down that flank, unless they are losing a Tyrick Mitchell or something as their left back. Who's been playing in there? Yeah, I think it has been Mitchell as their left wing back at the moment. Maybe you could upgrade there. They've also been playing Klein as a right-sided centre-back, so maybe you put Mitchell as the left-sided centre-back, but he's a little bit smaller. But Kostic, I'd love to see this move maybe 3-4 years ago, but I just don't think it's going to happen now.
I would love to see, just purely from a footballing perspective, I would love to see it. Obviously, like, Juventus is a much bigger club.
Great deliverer.
But I would, given Mateta's form recently, I would love to see, Oli Glasner's, balls whipped in. Like, I think Kostic has got I know he's not his output hasn't been as good this season, but especially at Frankfurt and last season as well, I think Kostic potentially has the best low ball into the box from the left in the world. Like, it's so consistent. And I think Mateta in the kind of form that he's in, that would be like a match made in heaven. And I think Tyrick Mitchell as an attacking wing back is very upgradable, like very, very upgradable. Like, his defensive work is obviously, is brilliant. But like you say, like he could cut it as a left-sided centre back, I think. So yeah, in theory, it would be great. But like, is Kostic gonna leave Juventus and go to Palace? Like, I just don't think so. So
big downgrade for him, especially with Juve playing Champions League football next year. Guys, that has been our thoughts on the hottest transfer rumours in the world right now. A lot of pros, a lot of negatives actually there as well. Quite a brutal evaluation of some of those as well. But we are waiting for firmer news on all of those. I hope you guys have enjoyed Sunday Vibes for this week. As Mikey said earlier, go check out our Monday Vibes episode where we looked at what Arne Slot can fix at Liverpool. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Actually, I say tomorrow. It's bank holiday tomorrow. We will catch you later next week.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.